Well, hello everybody, and greetings from what appears to be. Oh no, finally. Okay, we have a bit of lag here. I was about to say greetings from what appears to be a black screen, but it's not.
Good.
You've actually got me now. It's just my voice is being spoken on one computer here and arriving at YouTube about 10 to 15 minutes later. Well, seconds later, I mean. Right, let's get on with it. I'm sure it's all going to be fine. Um, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yay.
Um, Hope you're having a safe New Year, making the best of it. It probably isn't the happiest of New Years, but we can wish you the best that can be, if you see what I mean, given the state of the world and everything else. So, and of course, it means all my little tags have changed. 20 has become 21,
Right.
and the month has changed to January. And I don't know what day it is. Honestly, I don't. I figured out the date, but I couldn't figure out the day. Oh, terrible. Well, I do know now because it's Sunday and we're doing the show. This indeed is Metaworld News, where we bring you our headlines from the world of, well, yeah, virtual worlds, virtual spaces, immersive spaces, etc., and all the interface and haptic technology that goes with that. And so these will be our headlines for, wait for it, the week ending the 3rd of January
Hooah.
2021. Did I get that right?
You
Yes, I
did.
did. Oh,
You
I'm
did.
just turning around to check that I'd actually labelled the YouTube bit
Just
right.
check my
Yeah,
wings.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, check there. Yes, I know exactly, James. He has beat me to it, actually. Sitting next to me, of course, is James Atloud, who is twiddling knobs, as he always does, switching between my desktop and the studio here and all sorts of other stuff. He normally has an loud, James Atloud, get it? He normally has an Ask Loud t-shirt on, but no, such luck today. He's got a very pretty t-shirt. Fractals, I think they are.
Yeah.
Not quite
Fractals.
sure. But the loudness of James Out Loud has changed to his wings. In one ear, out the other. I mean, not ear, sorry, year.
Right.
We're going out of one year and into another. And yes, there we have 2021. Very
Yeah.
smart, James.
Yeah.
I'm
Thanks,
sure.
Mal.
I'm
And
sure.
I'll
You can,
just I'll just mention, yeah, I got the wings came from a store in Sansar from a person account named AC Pixel, AC Pixel Store.
oh,
So it was one of the few 2021 items I could find. So I'm glad there was something.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite easy to remember that actually as well.
AC Pixel.
Pixel
Yeah.
AC.
Yeah.
Oh,
AC
AC
Pixel.
Pixel.
AC
Yeah,
Pixel. Yeah.
Yeah, AC Pixel. Oh, it's almost as good as AB Pixel, but it still doesn't matter. AC
Okay. Okay.
Pixel.
Yep.
Yeah. I, I see an AC Pixel. Never mind. I'm a bit silly, aren't I?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, James here, and fiddling with knobs in the background too. And I should introduce myself, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
My name is Mal Burns, as if you didn't know. Mal, one word, Burns, the other word. But when I opened a Twitter account, oh, what was it, 15 years ago? I was a beta
Mm.
tester actually. It was the first thing I got annoyed about. Well, I didn't really get annoyed about much at all. But they decided to squash me and stick a funny symbol at the front of my name. So on Twitter, I'm at Mal Burns, Malburns, all one word. And to find me, it's easier to just go to twitter.com/ and you can forget the at symbol. You just go /Malburns, Malburns. There's also a feed, twitter.com/Metaworld News, just like this show. And again, the two words that make up Metaworld News are squashed together, as is the norm these days.
Hmm.
It seems. It seems. Yeah. And I always thought the at symbol was for email. I mentioned to James earlier, by the way. I tweeted this. I didn't tweet it. I posted it on Facebook. It was a clip actually. Britain, as you probably know, that's where I am, has actually formally left Europe midweek. Not only did we have the New Year, but a couple of days, the night before New Year's Eve, at 11 p.m., not midnight because it's European time. We actually formally left the EU. So in the space of 1 minute, any lorry leaving the country needed paper documents. Or actually, it's all digital documents, but they needed documents that they didn't need before. And the same for anything coming into the country. Not to mention all the other fifth faff that went with it. But what was interesting is our Prime Minister signed this over 1,000 pages of documentation on the new treaty with Europe. And it didn't take long for somebody to get to I think it's a page 800 and something,
Mm, mm.
which is talking about legislation for online communications. Now, if they had just stuck to the topic, they might have got away with it. But this archaic document references um, the standard in mail communications. This is where the at symbol comes in. As something known as Netscape Communicator.
That is very funny.
This is, apparently, if you are sending an electronic communication within the EU community, right, you will be using Netscape Communicator to do this. Now, the name does kind of ring a bell, but I think it must be something they're predicting for the future, mustn't it? Yeah, don't know. So they couldn't. Well, I don't know. Anyway, have a laugh at that
That's
one.
funny.
Oh, rather just lie back and gasp.
Should get a picture of communicator. That would be hilarious.
Oddly enough, if you look up my account on Facebook and my Facebook feed, you will see a snapshot that goes with that.
Oh, good, good. Yep.
Well, you had to have a snapshot just to prove that I wasn't making it up. Yep, the snapshot is there. Just to prove the point. Yeah. Anyway, so funny. Anyway, we're gonna have a fairly short show this week. Well, I will say that
Yeah,
even
I
the
say
shortest shows last
that.
2 hours. But when I say it's going to be a short show, we don't have like many links because it's a quiet period, isn't it? Well, quiet in the businessy sense. Somehow, if we got 100 links to talk about, the show goes on for over 2 hours. If we got two links to talk about, then somehow I always manage to make it last for 2 hours anyway. But we will see. We will see. I think we will be shorter this week. I'm certainly not going to play long, full form 50-minute videos for you. But in terms of an online metaversey thing, the news of the week is undoubtedly New Year's Eve. Well, when there are several, too many online metaversey things, really. I just sat and watched Jules Holland on the BBC.
Nice.
I did keep the other channels open, but I couldn't actually find everything I needed. So it was odd. The other one I really wanted to watch was Patti Smith. It was pre-recorded, but she was beamed from big screens all over central London. But at the last minute, the authorities said that not it wasn't just limited attendance; nobody was able to go. So it was simply broadcast. Um, yeah, um, in various places. And I haven't actually tracked it down again because I want to see it. I'm a big Patti Smith fan. But of course, the other virtual artist, as it were, who was on in VR Chat, I believe it was, wasn't
Mm-hmm.
it?
It was.
Um, Jean-Michel Jarre, another brilliant performer in many ways. And I'm gonna go to James in a second anyway, but if James just quickly shows you my desktop picture,
Yep.
that's actually a picture, and it was photographed on December 22nd, and that shows Jean Michel in the foreground being kitted out with his motion capture gear and still wearing a mask. Even I think he was scared of getting the virus off the motion capture. Who knows? Well, no, so was his helper. Um, that is not particularly extensive motion capture gear, but I presume later on he had a bit more put on. And I'm pretty certain that given the date on that picture, they probably filmed the whole motion capture part of animating his avatar and everything in advance probably on December 22nd, which would have been what 10 days before the event, really.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I thought that was quite interesting. So you get a butcher at that, and I can now actually put that program away. And underneath, I have a still from the very beginning of the recording of the event that is now on YouTube. It's basically called "Welcome to the Other Side." New Year's Eve in Virtual Notre Dame, and it's on Jean-Michel Jarre's channel, not Scargo's channel. This is actually Michel Jarre's own channel, and yeah, if you want to see it, go to that. You can subscribe to him if you want to. And no spaces there, just Jean Michel Jarre. And remember, this is the Michel spelling, Michel, not Michael, as in England and America. So Jean Michel Jarre. And yeah, you get the whole 55-minute performance here. And I'm going to give you a little teaser because I'm not going to play 55 minutes, but we've probably got a little bit of time to play today. So I'm going to do a bit of scrolling through it to see what happened. If James wants to, he can talk over us.
No,
If he thinks of
I agree with your.
anything notable.
No, just when we got together before the show, you described it the lag fest, and I would have to agree. It was pretty laggy.
Yeah, it was laggy.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I was
as
in
many
VR
virtual.
chat. It was in VR chat, and I was
Yeah,
using my Oculus Quest. Um, you know, um,
right,
lightweight headset, and so I didn't. The visuals were not laid over. They're just projected on a screen. I wasn't inside the
right.
visuals like this video shows. So, but at least they let Oculus Quest people in, which was different than the last performance.
Yes, yeah. And I think at the end of the day, it's things like this that video recordings too are good. It shows the excitement of the thing,
Right.
and this is a pretty good likeness of him when you get closer. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
based on the motion capture. Um, it's a bit of a shame it's not like here in Sansar where he sort of looks photographically real, even though it is, artificial.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, and of course here it's very much a display. He performed outside for sure because he wasn't allowed into Notre Dame,
It's
so
under
the
construction, isn't
Notre
it?
Dame
Yeah.
was totally virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that rebuild. I think these figures dancing in the foreground may not actually be avatars. They're like silhouettes
They're
made
like
to make it
silhouettes.
look
Yeah.
like an audience.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think it looks quite good. I mean, it's like I don't know about you, but I've got quite a few. Oddly enough, mostly videotape. That shows how dated they are of concerts by him. And they're all instrumental. They go on for ages, and they have the wonderful light shows and everything with it. And of course he actually live. The real Jean Michel Jarre has some.
Hmm?
He says wherever you are, I'm here, mate.
Oh, I can't really hear what he's saying. The volume's low.
Oh really? He's saying bye bye 2020. Let's see what I can do here. Oh, I can up it a bit.
Yep.
Yeah, in real life, of course, he's got this great big circular console of keyboards. He's got a fairly minimalistic approach in the virtual one here, but of course he's got new iPad toys or whatever these are. It looks very old seeing him with a small console in front of him.
So this was quite late for you. It was
So,
10:30 UK time. I guess not too late.
well, no, that's the no, well, it's midnight, except that it wasn't. It was actually Central European time, and by the time it was midnight and the bells were ringing in Britain, it was over by an hour.
Right.
Well, I mean, it had already happened in France an hour before me.
Right.
So I messed up on that front too, because I was watching Jules Holland's Hootenanny on BBC, which is the one I normally watch. It's great fun. Good musicians as a rule, which is very unusual because it was only him and his main band and various guests coming on, in social isolation. But no, it was great anyway. But when they ring in the new year on that program, I thought, oh, I'll just hop over to the computer and check on those links I've loaded. Only to find that this one had already happened. I mean, I missed the end by about 5 minutes. Um, of the actual live version, obviously it came up on replay here on YouTube. Um, but yeah.
That's a challenge converting
Anyway,
between time zones, right?
really is. I mean,
Hmm.
especially when you're in an hour bars in Europe here.
Right.
I'm
For
just
me, it
moving
was
ahead a
four.
bit
It
to
was
see
4:30 p.m. So that was quite a difference.
in the afternoon.
Right.
No, oh no, in the
Yeah.
morning.
No, in the afternoon.
Yeah, is that? Hang on, I'm trying to
The
work that
United
out.
States,
Yeah,
we're
right. So
behind everybody. We're the latest people to
yeah,
wake up in the
exactly.
world,
For
right?
yeah, so Pacific time would have been
2:30.
yeah, 4 in the afternoon.
No, it would have been
Four in the
2:30
afternoon.
Pacific.
Would it?
2:30
What,
Pacific.
midnight?
4:30. Well, it started, at 11:30 in France, so that at midnight he could ring in the new year, which he did at 6 minutes.
Got you.
For me, both in VR and on YouTube, he said it's here. The new year is here about 6 minutes before the top of the hour. That's how
Well,
it appeared for me.
but
So
I've moved in. I've just moved into 25 minutes in. So let's just see if we get that bit.
okay, all right. I did note that the feed on YouTube was
What?
very different from the feed in VR chat. It did not feel
Right.
like I was seeing the same thing at the same time at all.
You probably weren't.
Uh, Probably, yep.
Yeah, it's probably all pre-recorded, and the virtual pre-recording was, sort of not
Yeah,
in
I didn't know
time
which
or
one was real.
something.
So yeah.
Yeah, now this is 26 minutes in. It's hard to know if he actually started. Right, let's move on till it's 30 minutes past, shall we? Oh, that's the wrong thingy. If we move on to 27, 28, 29, 9.5 minutes. Right. Well, didn't quite make it there. Hang on. Okay, yeah, it's right. The video just passed the 30 minutes mark. What's interesting is the chat in YouTube here is replaying,
Hmm.
and people are now screaming Happy New Year," and hearts and icons and all that sort of stuff. So maybe the replay, um, yeah, earlier, right, 27 minutes past. Oh, interesting. Oh, this is interesting. I'm scrolling through and magnifique. Yes, that sounds French enough. Oh, interesting. Right, I think. Uh, no, I've now got to 30 minutes in again. Oh, I think because I'm scrolling, it's out of sync. It looks to me anyway that by 30 minutes in on the YouTube video, the new hero passed a little bit. So anyway, as I say, go to Jean-Michel Jarre on YouTube, and you can replay this whole 55 minutes of it at your heart's content. And even if you find the music a bit tedious, yeah, I can quite happy with this actually.
I
It
love it.
starts to
Yeah,
change.
I'm a big fan.
But it does change quite a bit. It's sort of a forerunner of what became trance music, really. Um, some people say, all that stuff was the Pink Floyd were there first, but in terms of the actual repetitive structure and things, I think Michelle Jarre got there first
He
in a
was
way.
way there. Yeah,
Um,
and Philip
yeah,
Glass. Philip Glass
yeah,
too.
and
Yeah.
it's ideal, of course, to go with exotic visuals and stuff. So there's plenty of those. So even if if you can just look at the pictures or whatever you want, or go silent with it and talk over it like I was doing. Except I wasn't being very quiet about it, was I? Okay. So moving on, while we're on the YouTube section, before we get to various news feeds and stuff like that, I'm going to move on to the next one on my list, which is oh, I forgot.
As we all know, the lobbies out there can be pretty scarce.
So I
Yeah,
forgot.
it's time to
I
play
forgot to
multiplayer all day
mute
long
my
tonight.
pit. What's this? Right. This is the latest version of Between Realities VR podcast. Season 3 premiere, and its headline is "The Boys Are Back," and happy to be coming back at you with the latest in virtual reality goodness. They deal with a whole load of stuff. They actually have some quite good guests. I'm not actually sure they had any on this show, um, being as it was pretty New Yearish. In fact, huh, it gives me the number of views, but I can't actually see a date on this broadcast. It was later in the week. Um, so where you want to go is here. Between Realities is the YouTube account you want. That's Between Space Realities. And yeah, it's nearly 1.5 hours this one actually. So not a short one. Um, and I think really they were just discussing stuff from the year and whatever, rather than any guests on that fancy screen they've got behind them. In fact, yeah, no sign of any guests. They've just got footage from games. But interesting show, fairly recent. The season 3 premiere. I mean, there's been quite a few of these now, but it's probably been game less than a year, so it's quite an interesting one to pick
Say,
up on.
Mel,
Yeah,
I had one thing I think we forgot to discuss about Jean-Michel Jarre was what
yeah.
organization participated in producing the show. It's one of our favorites.
Oh, indeed, it's indeed. Okay, yeah, I know why you're asking this. You want to press your foot pedal, don't you?
I do.
Of course. Yes, indeed. Well, we're going to come to this actually.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, indeed. Scar Ghost is based in Paris, and is one of the people really behind this kind of thing. When I get to the actual links to text material, we have Jean Michel himself talking about virtual concerts
Oh,
need
cool. Okay.
A Banksy style hijacking, says electronic music
Hmm.
pioneer. That's opposed to VR Scout. But yeah, Scar Ghost did have his own take, Tony, whatever his real name is.
Hmm.
Hopefully, we'll come to that. Yes, but indeed, SKARREDGHOST.com is they have a podcast too, but that's a great news site or review site really, and yeah, he was greatly instrumental in the team that put Jean Michel together there. Yeah. So anyway, this is Between Realities, so recommended podcast, so to speak.
Hmm.
This 1 hour 20 minutes was this week's one, and yeah, Between Realities, just to show you again there. That's what you need at youtube.com. What's it? Right, moving on. As you probably know, we're quite a big fan of OpenSim here, amongst other things. We don't broadcast from there as a rule anymore, but this is one of the OpenSim grids called the Sacrarium Give Grid.
Hmm.
And It's too loud to talk. It's put me off. They just had a little Christmas party here for 2021. I mean, if this was Second Life, I'd have about 1,000 clips like this to be showing you. But I mean, I just make an exception really because it's an open sim promotion. I've had them on this link before, but it's an awkward one to remember. It's White Angel. That's all one word. Then space and then Nim Fetka. All right, I'm going to highlight that there with my mouse. I don't know whether that is better or worse than reading it without the highlight, but at least you can see where I'm pointing.
Hmm.
And yeah, then we'll go back to normal there. That's the user account, and I think they're just residents, or they may even be running the Sacrarium grid. If I remember rightly, Sacrarium grid may be a Russia based in Russia. Obviously, open sim grids are quite literally all over the world and just linked together by the hypergrid. I may have that wrong. There are just thousands of grids on the OpenSim network these days, ranging from absolutely tiny, like one or two people, through to sort of major hosting providers with several thousand users. Anyway, you'll find that one there, and of course it's all pretty, it calls itself a Christmas party, but as you can see, the date is 5 days after Christmas. Oh, there's a bit of Christmas. So we always get nice visuals on these things too, and you got to remember that unlike just normal light shows and things, everything in these worlds is built and created by the users. I mean, so, sure, it might have been created by one user and bought for the occasion by another user for virtual money, but nevertheless, all original. So the particles that spout out of objects, they've all been hand coded, and the particles themselves have been, they're pieces of art that have been made by residents. So it's not just a matter of switching on the light show. As you watch this stuff going on, it's every aspect of it is down to the user. Some of the foreground effects here are simply changing views. That's done by the camera. So, but all this particle show stuff is done by the in-world users. Anyway, oh, there we are. Back on the Christmas bit. Okay, and finally, as far as videos are concerned, because as I say, it's pretty short sort of thing this week. Decentraland is another of the more recent virtual worlds, and
Welcome, everyone. My name is Swiss. I would like to welcome you to the DCL Ventures channel. In the next 5 videos, I will be introducing Decentraland to people who are not yet familiar with the in-game mechanics.
so anyway, yes, this was posted on Christmas Day. I wonder how much traction it got coming up on Christmas Day, but never mind. The user account is DCL, as in Decentraland, Space Ventures, so DCL Ventures. And yeah, if I remember rightly, Decentraland use it. Well, here it actually says it's a decentralized ownership on the blockchain. Um, ETH is Ethereum, which is one of the digital currencies. World computer game companies are increasingly shifting over to digital asset ownership by users. And yeah, there are a number of other platforms that do the same thing now. Um, there's one other one, my mind escapes me, I'm sorry, that is very well known. But decentralized probably comes after that. Um, I was not the first, I will admit, to jump in on all this. I've I've never, at the start anyway, been happy with the idea of Bitcoin and all these virtual currencies. I mean, at the end of the day, they don't really differ. That I mean, you've got blockchain tokens and stuff which offer security, so I'll give them that. But at the end of the day, the need, apart from security, for something like this isn't really different from having, Linden dollars in a Second Life account. To make use of them at any point, you can keep them in game money or electronic money if you want, and play with them, even invest with them. But at the end of the day, if you want that money, you got to convert it back to a local territorial currency wherever you live. I would have to convert everything to English pounds to ever use it outside of a micro digital economy. I mean, the time will probably come when you can buy your supermarket foods using Bitcoin and things like that. But they've grown much more than I would ever have thought. But at the moment, yeah, I haven't got one, although I have actually got a wallet ready for one if I ever need it. But anyway, coming back to Decentraland, it is very much a virtual world. Um, but you buy and sell online land in this world, and unlike buying or renting land in Second Life, where everything's owned by Linden Lab, you genuinely do own this. But of course, it is probably going to be on servers that somebody else owns, so you'll be dependent on them. And what you buy, you can sell. There's supposedly no middleman, but then again, if your virtual currency is being handled by a virtual bank, they're making their money on things too. Um, I was actually rather astonished that I haven't got a link for this up anywhere, but it was in the last couple of weeks there was an instance in one of these. I was going to say games, virtual worlds anyway, where somebody bought for quite a lot of money a very major may oh god, it was something really major. I was about to say the World Trade Center, but of course I'm getting that confused. That's no longer there. Um, it was some major building come establishment in, I believe, New York. Um, if it comes back to me, I don't know. But there was some controversy over whether anybody actually had the right to buy that, because what's to stop another virtual world um, advertising the same land for sale? And so somebody else buys it in the other virtual world, and then they rebuild it and connect it with the real world. And you've got two virtual worlds, uh, technically, who owns the piece of real world land, except they don't own it in the real world, if you see what I mean. But does the owner in the real world license it? Um, or not? So I remember years ago, I was in an experimental virtual world, and I was allowed to claim a bit of London, though London wasn't fully kind of online. But we met up in Times Square in New York, which was fully embellished. It was based on not Google Maps, but open source mapping. And of course, people are, technically owning these bits of Times Square. But of course, they weren't owning anything like the real world landscape. And even in Second Life, my own physical address here in London was in the build of Virtual London in Second Life. It wasn't quite to scale. I could never have got up the stairs properly. I could never get up the stairs properly. But they gave it me because it was my real house, if you see what I mean. But I mean, there was no, I rent it in the real world. There's no way I actually owned it by having got it in the virtual world. So it was nice for the uh, what's the word I'm looking for? The idea that you can start off in a real room and transfer to a virtual room that's almost identical, and go out of the virtual building into a like a mirror world complex. There's something quite nice about that, but there's no way that we're nowhere near a point where the two could be confused. Where for example, if you um, rent an apartment, for example, there's no way you will, for a long while at least, that you will own the rights to rent the virtual version, if you see what I mean. It may come, there may be a mirror world at some future point where, when you purchase or rent a property, then you acquire that property in its virtual replica, but who knows? Anyway, if you fancy listening to that, that's actually only 9 minutes or so of DLC Ventures. But they are saying they're going to be about 4 or 5 other videos that will take you through it.
In-world functionality, how to get started with Decentraland, but more importantly, I also want to cover what Decentraland is, what it could be, and I think these 5 videos will allow you to get a decent introduction to what you get yourself into once you get started on this path. Hearing about Decentraland for the very first time, the fact that you can own.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I see. Yeah, there's not much additional scenery, but it's not too much of a walk around here. It's really just the owner talking. But I mean, when there's five up here and we put them together, that'd be like a 45-minute talk, I presume. That would be worthy of. Well, I could imagine that being somebody giving a talk at the OSCE conference the other week. Not just open sim or anything like it, but topically, good to see explanatory videos like that that are actually filmed by the makers in the worlds in question. Okay, so moving on to the boring stuff. It's called text pages. Now, we did mention a minute ago, this chap, he's got an engine that goes with him, hasn't he?
Wait,
James.
what? The chap?
Yeah, I said he's got an engine that goes with him,
Oh,
hasn't he?
no, he's got a.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Of
Right.
course. Right. Yeah. We're mixing up our rooms with our
Our
ghosts.
ghosts, right?
I know. I thought, yeah, didn't you do the engine a minute ago when
Yeah,
we
I did
were?
that because Vroom was a producer on Jar, the Vroom
Oh,
group. You know,
right. Okay.
they helped produce Jar.
Well,
So.
and okay, and Scar Ghost
And Scarred
was as
Ghost
well.
too.
Yeah. So we should. Yeah, we should. We need a ghost and an engine.
Oh, okay,
We
all
need.
right.
We need a whole new effect for this guy,
And a
don't
whole
we?
new effect. Yep. Back to the studio for me.
Yeah. Anyway, this is one we do every week. It's always the first one of the week. It's published every Monday at scarredghost.com, which is SKARREDGHOST.com, and it's a roundup of the previous week. So this was literally the day after our last show, so it repeats a lot of stuff we might have covered ourselves, but it also features actual experiences and games and things. So it's not like a carbon copy of the stuff I'm announcing here. Um, Again, it's still a fair old bit there actually, and I'm not going to go down it all. Um, because and use a street view too. I'll be here all day if I summarize this whole article, but basically it's to plug the article because remember this is the week up until not now, but up until December 28th, and a roundup of sort of highlights, sort of which would have included the Christmas days, of course. Right. So moving on from there, I seem to be arriving at somewhere called Autocar Pro
Hmm.
IN. Okay, AUTOCARPRO.IN. This is a car magazine of sort of what, about a car site, basically, about automated driving. And it's based in India, if you're wondering what the .IN is. In fact, we can just have a quick Autocar Professional. That's the magazine's name, as it were. Um, but the point of this particular one is that Mercedes-Benz, I'm sure you've heard of them, have a driving simulator, and it's a decade of virtual journey into the future. Um, they're doing two things. I mean, obviously, the people modeling and making the cars, designing them and stuff, do it in virtual reality. But also, in the case of Mercedes-Benz, they're actually doing all the road tests and stuff in virtuality, in the sense that they can monitor. There's a monitoring capability that turns what the real car's doing into the same thing in virtual. Rather like Second Life had IBM, Predator, a friend of ours at IBM, some years ago now, for several years, they did Wimbledon in Second Life, and the avatars playing on the field, playing tennis, were actually controlled by the live feed from the real Wimbledon. So, when one of the avatars, you know, pulled up its racket and thrashed the ball across to the other side, it wasn't quite real time, but it's very near real time. In other words, trackers on the real event were being translated into what happened in the virtual building. It wasn't total. It was limited to the actual lawn that the two players would be playing on. Everything like the audience in the seats and everything like that was just total fiction simulation. But the action on the lawn itself was, you know, given a bit of lag, was actually identical to what was happening on the field of Wimbledon. And I think the idea here is, with the cars, you not only design them in VR, but you ultimately could test them in VR too. So this is actually just quite an interesting post on, automobile industry is just one industry that is making great use of VR these days. But it's always worth finding out, different steps that different folks are making there. Okay. Let me. Oh, sorry, I can't close it. Moving on. Right. Now, talking of virtual worlds, this is in our main feed, by the way, not Metaworld News, but this place has been around for quite a long time. It's really very like Second Life, except for a much younger demographic, really, and very popular, very big, a lot of users. IMVU is the name of the world. And this article is simply about making the coin of the realm for the metaverse. Well, yep, that's what they think. Yeah, and I suppose in some ways it is. Um, I mentioned Decentraland a few minutes ago, and they have their own currency. Well, IMView, it says here, is a relatively quiet, unnoticed company in the online gaming and social media worlds. Well, I wouldn't really say unnoticed, but and the company did something recently that could benefit the whole industry. It received approval from the US Securities and Exchange Commission to enable payments in its virtual world through a blockchain based cryptocurrency dubbed Vcoin. Vcoin, indeed. So the difficulty here comes in that if you are in IMVU, which a lot of kids are, and you want to buy, sell, and trade and do subscribe and do all that stuff in the world, then having V coins as a cryptocurrency is probably a good idea. But whether you can easily exchange V coins for, say, Bitcoin or Ethereum, that's where it gets a bit odd. Now, the ruling in November. It says it's enabled IMV users to buy and sell goods with Vcoin, but also to cash out and convert it to Ethereum, which is a well-known cryptocurrency, or they can cash out into US dollars. And the so-called no action letter from the SEC lays down the groundwork for other companies to do the same thing. And that's why the foundations of the metaverse, the universe of virtual worlds, that are all interconnected. So it then goes on about Snow Crash, Ready Player One, etc., etc., for example. And it does say that Roblox and Fortnite, which are other game worlds, they call them, could benefit from the rulings so long as they follow the same guidelines that IMVU is. That doesn't mean using Vcoin, it means following the guidelines that have been set down. And anyway, this article is at venturebeat.com. That's VENTUREBEAT.com. But they also have a companion site called GamesBeat as opposed to VentureBeat, and they cite here IMVU's CEO who actually conducted an interview with GamesBeat. They've obviously extracted a little bit of it from here. No link on that, so direct link anyway. So it looks like you'd have to look up GamesBeat on Google and search for the interview with the IMVU CEO. Anyway, this is their excuse for hyping it all up as the key to the metaverse and things. I mean, technically, I suppose you could trade Vcoin for Linden dollars or something if you really wanted to, because at the end of the day, you can cash out into US dollars. So all you need to do is to take the dollars out of the equation as a middleman, and somebody somewhere could probably take your V coins and give you Linden dollars, or vice versa. So we'll have to see that works. But clearly there are stipulations to the permissions that have been given to IMVU and would be passed on to other companies. But I do like the idea that They are moving, in the direction of thinking about interconnected worlds and a metaverse, even if it is strictly economy. It's also something that in OpenSim and some other worlds as well has been tried a bit. A chap called Chris Colosi has a in world currency and a marketplace. Globit, that's what it's called, Globit. Sorry, my mind is still New Year's Eve. Very somewhere else, I think.
Yeah.
Globit is a currency that you can use on many open sim grids, and that way it is sort of interchangeable. So if you carry around Globits, you can go to, I don't know, DigiWorlds maybe, and buy yourself a house. Then you can pack up your house and take it away and res it on your own grid or on your land on another grid that you're renting, and it doesn't get blocked at the border, as it were. Yeah, so I've always found this to be rather fun sort of things, comparing the virtual world to the physical world. Sometimes, you can. It's always been a standing joke that you can go into Second Life and you can get yourself a snazzy costume and a hat and some snazzy shades and some kit to put on a backpack and some wonderful stuff. And then the moment you try and cross the border out of Second Life, it vanishes. Who ever heard of getting on an aeroplane and having to strip naked and find clothes at the other end? Doesn't it doesn't happen in the real world. But that's the fast nature of the walled garden parts of the metaverse, really. So if you can start, collecting assets in one world and take them to another, not just the money, but actual assets that are usable. For example, items created in mesh, say a mesh hat. There's no reason why that can't travel between different platforms with different rules, because almost all the platforms these days are designed to support mesh. So you should be able to take mesh items with you. If it's something from OpenSim that's created with prims, then not only is it very heavy to carry in terms of virtual weight, but it wouldn't it wouldn't arrive in any usable format when you got to the other world. But there again, if you're in OpenSim, you can build in prems and then link all the prims together and export as a mesh. And then you can take the mesh item into the other virtual worlds. So there's ways around it. Things like OpenSim are kind of at times a bridge between the new style mesh worlds and the old style Second Life model. Um, but anyway, enough rabbit holing. It doesn't matter if I rabbit hole a bit this week because yeah, I'm not going to be delaying too much, am I?
Okay.
Right. Anyway, so that was about IMVU, and yeah, the article actually tells you a whole lot more about it. So as I say, venturebeat.com, venturebeat.com for that article and all the supplementary information they give you at the same time. Right, moving to roadtovr.com, and that's like we pop up to now and again. VR comfort settings and checklists and glossary for developers and players alike. This is Ben Lang's own thing. Um, This is just useful whether you just got a VR headset over the holiday period or whatever as a gift, or just generally want to know or checking out on buying something. It's just a checklist for comfort. The last thing you want is to buy a VR headset that is totally uncomfortable, and you just won't. It may be the best headset in the world, but it's so uncomfortable that you won't want to use it. So they've used some games as examples here, but artificial turning, smooth turning, adjustable speed, snap turning, artificial movement, adjustable speed, teleport move, blinders, adjustable strength, controller based, head based, swappable movement. Yeah, the works. So I think you'd know more about all this, James, because you use the thing. But anyway, yeah, and it then goes and explains, what all these terminologies they come up with are and why they're important, basically, whether for comfort or even for at the bottom here, we've got accessibility as well.
Right.
So this is roadtovr.com, roadtovr.com, and you'll no doubt find that. That was December 28th too, so that was probably it was midweekish, wasn't it? Right, moving on. Now, we've already covered this at the top of the show. As I said, it's been the main thing, I suppose, commercially this week. We have a post here at vrscout.com, VRSCOUT.com, on December 29th. And here's the real chap we saw an avatar of earlier. Well, actually, we also saw him having his. No, hang on, I think that is the avatar. We also saw his motion capture kit being strapped on. It's none other than Jean-Michel Jarre. Da 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 da. Yeah, well.
Hmm.
Anyway, electronic music pioneer Jean-Michel Jarre reckons we need a Banksy style hijacking. Yes, for virtual concerts. And he proceeds to tell us why and what. Some other, this isn't him, but I think we've shown this video before. They've got a few embeds here from stuff on the web. And also stating how many millions of dollars are now being spent on one off productions in places like Fortnite, Tomorrowland, and Minecraft. And Miro Shot did they were a VR pioneer artist. They did a sort of tour, and I actually got an invite to get one of the stops they did on their tour was actually Science Space. And I got an invite and went into Science Space for the stop on the Miro Shot store that was in Science Space. So they that wasn't very big or long lasting, and they put a bit of gaming stuff into it. Was seemed to be a bit more gimmicky than But at least they're tempted to bring not just the performance, but the gaming and the puzzle aspects of of the event. To enhance what could have been just music. Um, I don't think they're in any way what you would call a major band, but I did admire the fact that they've done something we did in the early days of Open Sim when we did a tour in the metaverse, and we went to Second Life, then we went to Twinity, and then we went to Reaction Grid on it, which was the main Open Sim grid in the day. And any platform we could get into to take our performers in, we went in there. There was me and Slim Warrior was sort of putting it together. But Grace Madonna was with us, Dizzy Banjo. Basically, it was yeah, I think there were four musicians, and then it was like it's like a shared tour. Except instead of traveling around cities in the real world, we travel around different metaverse locations. Some to better effect than others, because obviously every week we're in a different place with different rules and different graphic fidelity and different sound fidelity for that matter. Things have certainly moved on from that. Okay. With these distinctions in mind, they sat down virtually with Jean-Michel Jarre, the godfather of modern electro, to talk frankly about his VR concerts and his hopes for the future of virtual concerts, including the challenges artists may face if they want to work with this new and volatile technology. And then they say you may know Jarre from this. And today he still holds the world record for the largest ever audience at an outdoor event for his Moscow concert in 1997, which was attended by 3.5 million people. I don't think he'd have seen the people in the back, do you?
No.
Definitely not. I mean, I have actually, in my younger years, been part of. I managed the concert. Well, I was co-manager. There were about six of us in all. We had the Rolling Stones at a venue called Nebworth in Hertfordshire, which is about 40, 50 miles from London, I guess. And at the time, we had just over a quarter of a million people, and it was. I mean, the RAF flew over and photographed it, so there was no arguing with the photos. Apparently, the promoter was actually more anxious to understate it. I think he wanted to hide some of the money, but
Hmm.
but that was really state of the art then. I don't think anything at that point in time. This was mid 70s, I suppose. I think quarter of a million was really sort of. Pushing the limit. I don't think the arena could have actually held more than that. I think the license was actually only for 120,000, which of course is an eighth of a million, if that. Anyway, moving on. I shouldn't really talk about that. Long while ago there.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah, here is, of course, this is actually the trailer for the concert he did on New Year's Eve. We already saw at the beginning and got the link for the real thing. Um, Evolution of virtual concerts reminds Jar of cinema at the beginning of its era in the late 1890s. He highlights how the very first simple projections weren't taken very seriously by theatregoers, but cut to today, and modern cinema accounts for some of our most important works of art, not to mention a heck of a lot of money. Rather than weakening theatre, it's actually reinforced it, like TV did for cinema. I think it's the same for people using VR these days. And sure, the part of the artist is to experiment. And what's always been interesting in any kind of art form in history is people hijacking the environment, hence the Banksy hijack reference. An interesting approach is a kind of Banksy approach. So you take something, you hijack it, and this is the only way you can create your own art. Got a bit of Banksy on show there. And in music, you only have 12 notes and then you have millions of songs. What makes the difference, though, is not technology, it's what you have in your heart and in your mind. Yeah, damn right. Okay, I'm not going to quote it all. I think you should go and read the article if you want to get a bit more illustrated, of course, with Alone Together is actually his first ever concert, which I don't think was in VR chat. I think it was somewhere else, but can't remember there. Anyway, and looking at the state of the industry. Oh, here's Mario Shop, the ones I mentioned um, a few earlier. Oh, that was. Yeah, but actually another thing to their credit is not only doing lots of different venues in different worlds. The fact they've been doing it for so long. 2017 was one of the. It's not that. I say 3 years ago, but in terms of this sort of thing and in terms of the ambition of real world performance in virtuality, that's pretty good. And then Glastonbury, which was held here, of course, in Sansar during the summer. And yeah, so if you want to read that, you want to go to vrscout.com, vrscout.com. And I'm pretty sure we're on the same theme of Mr. Jean Michel Jarre. We have more coming up in a while, but I think it's not yet. Right, moving on. This is a site called Leisure Opportunities Co. UK. LEISUREOPPORTUNITIES.co.uk. And yeah, it's basically this is out of the home VR. And I have to laugh when I see so many of these articles interviewing about this great new thing that's going to launch soon. And as far as I know, until we get rid of this COVID, I don't know why they're bothering. Maybe they just want to build it and get it done so that when we come out of COVID, it's ready and waiting. Who knows? If. Anyway, it's an exclusive interactive free roaming VR experience to launch in 2021, Atmos VR. They're planning 8 sites in England, and basically they set to launch in the West Midlands, which is an area of Britain where I grew up but don't live. So that doesn't help much at all, does it? Right. Founded by entrepreneur Kevin Blair, and he's also president of the Birmingham chapter of the RAR Association. Oh, right. I thought he was a bit familiar. So for some reason, I go to some of the Zoom things for um, the VRAR Association, and instead of ending up in London, I always end up at the Birmingham chapter. So I think I've seen him on there. Right. Okay, more funding, etc., etc. Basically, they just tell you all about it. The West Midlands site's open in early 2021, and yeah, it's a sort of bit of information there and also a bit of a press release to that article. So leisure opportunities or one word .co.uk, and if I'm not going to spell leisure opportunities for you again, I'll tell you what, just in case. Um, yeah, there we are. That's their name. And then they're a co-UK. Okay, that's all you're getting.
All right.
Right, moving on, moving on. Um, this is at Forbes. Now, much to my horror, I don't know what it's to do with the changing browsers, but as you know from my reports, I quite often, we've got reports from Forbes. But for some reason, all the last week and possibly before, I've been unable to get into Forbes because they've now got a paywall and you can't get through it even to have a little look, which is a bit annoying because I've never had any problem getting into Forbes before. Fortunately, my feed readers normally bypass firewalls, which is quite useful. So long as the whole text article is in the RSS feed, I can read it from the RSS. So not too bad. But I should warn you that you may find it hard to get to the Forbes site without paying. Anyway, it is Forbes, of course, Forbes.com. This article, don't know who Benny Harivan is. um, I haven't come across his byline before, but anyway, why virtual reality could become the new normal for cinema. It's funny how these things are sort of linking together, like Jean Michel Sartre talking about TV, cinema, and the progressive sort of thing, and the pandemic, of course, decimating the cinema industry. There was a BBC program at the Media Year in Review on their news channel. I think it was yesterday. I saw it, or saw a bit of it earlier, and they and the year in cinema and stuff, and although there was a lot, and for example in cinema there was a lot that came online, it just wasn't the blockbusters sort of thing you might expect. Normally they've been put off, hoping cinema will be back, but they were saying cinema is going to change. It is for sure. Now that people have discovered streaming and its quality and the way it can work and are willing to pay for it. Half of it is just that people now know about film. The average Joe who only just discovered email has also now discovered Netflix. you know, um, it's the virus world has changed people's awareness of what's available online, and it's quite light. And of course, VR cinema too. Possibly the future of the cinematic experience is on the verge of being redefined. So anyway, they compare virtual reality and the new normal, and in its simplest form, you've got big screen, which is well, it's not a world; it's more like a shared room in VR, but you get a big screen movie screen in front of you, and you can go in there and actually watch blockbuster movies like you're in an IMAX theater. Presumably for a price. I mean, there are services online. Sansar here, for example, shows movies every night, which you don't have to pay for, but they're not exactly the latest blockbusters. Um, yeah, the crossover, between VR and cinema. They're talking about donning an F-Core Quest 2 headset here. Brand favoritism, if you ask me. Naughty, naughty. But I mean, I've seen these things work perfectly on a 2D screen. You simply perch yourself on a seat, and then you move your camera in so the stage or the screen, in fact, is full screen, and then you watch what you want to watch. Arguably, you might think, oh, well, I can just find out where it's streaming from and go to there in a web browser, or or get it on Netflix or something, if it's not too expensive. But it's like the popularity of concerts and things in Second Life. People like the music, but it's hardly the most professional music, with a few exceptions. But what people gain is the ability to talk during the concert. Sometimes they can even talk to the artist in between numbers. It's a text chat system. You don't get voices on, so unlike a real concert, there's not everybody talking over the music, so the music has to get louder and louder to be heard. You basically hear the music on the sound channel, and most venues actually kill voice, so you can't hear other people talking, but they can talk in text chat. So people can discuss their favorite songs whilst they're being played. The artist can say, "What do you want to hear next?" And people can there might not be time to vote, but people can say the names of their favorite songs in chat, and the performer will see that and think, "Oh yeah, you all like In the Night Tonight. Let me do that one." So interaction between the artist and the audience, and obviously. Um, the Jean-Michel Jarre thing, for example, didn't really have that, from what I gather. But ultimately, there's certain benefits to it and others not, and it will be the same with cinema, I'm sure. Yeah, if there's something I've never been able to stand, and forgive me, I'm rabbit holing a lot this week,
Mhm.
but um, it's not New Year's resolutions. It's New Year's New
Observations.
Year's. Yeah, that will have to do, I think. Right. I've never liked being in family living rooms or family lounges, wherever, or even just small groups all crowded around a television, right, to watch a movie, because you can bet your life, unlike a cinema, somebody in that room is going to blabber over the top of the movie. Oh, that's so and so, isn't it? Or oh, I know what's coming next. Or and I don't want to hear that shit.
Mhm.
I want to listen to the bloody movie. People don't talk in cinemas. It's rather odd. Thank goodness. But I can see the same being the case here, a big screen or whatever. You can sit down and watch the movie and you can totally ignore the chat going on. But if you want to read the chat and you want that family viewing experience kind of thing, or a fan viewing sort of thing, then you can engage in a conversation while you're watching it. It's a bit like a lot of TV programs have Twitter accounts. And when the TV program is live, all the followers on Twitter are, bleeping up and, twittering the hosts of the program. They don't always get much traction. There's usually somebody in the back room, sort of fielding all the Twitter comments, but it does represent a sort of form of live communication with the media itself. And actually, it's quite funny in virtual worlds. You sometimes get an email or a text message rather, saying we're filming this, that, and the other. We need some extras. Um, you know, ping back for a taxi. So you actually get the making a film, and they call up avatars to be extras, and they mail out. It's just like emailing a pool of bit part actors saying, "Do you want a job as an extra on this big scene we're filming?" So there's a lot of parallels there. Anyway, but I shall climb out of the rabbit hole. That is this particular rabbit hole.
Mhm.
And yeah, mention the article again. Why virtuality could become the new normal for cinema, and you find that article at Forbes.com. And they go into quite a lot there. Right, moving on. And this one is on nature.com. Far cry from all the technology stuff you would think. nature.com. And it's a bit technical because it comes from a scientific reports article. Um, the impact of visuomotor feedback on the embodiment of virtual hands detached from the body. You know all about this, James, don't you?
Mhm.
It's headset stuff.
Yep.
Right. You have virtual hands that are detached from the body, right? So this is visuomotor feedback on the embodiment of them. Right. Well, I mean, I know what they're getting at here. I mean, it is pretty academic, really. um, yeah, I mean, you can always tell what these are going to be like because of the headlines. Where else but an academic journal would you find that? Although Nature.com, I never really thought of as being particularly academic. But anyway, nature.com. It has the abstract, and it has an introduction, and a bit about the experiments there. Um, right, they're in VR and connected and disconnected and testing out different things. Um, actually mention which headset they were using, which is a very good thing because at least we know they're not doing stealth promotion for the F core. Right, it's about how they set it up. Oh, sadly they do mention the headset, but it's not the F cores one, so that's okay by me. Programmed using Unity 3D, etc., etc. So yeah, there's a lot to it, but there again, there's a lot to academic research. Look at it all! Whoa! Hey! Oh, there now. Here we are. Some good old prims. Front left side target, back left side target. Yeah, you get it. Um, Okay, I imagine there's a lot of people working in virtual worlds, creating things, especially that may well be interested in this because it's not a light-hearted, you know, skimming of the subject. It's really a bit of in-depth. I don't know. I don't know what's harder, reading or scrolling.
Hmm.
Right. Okay. There you are. Actually, if I was really cheating, I would just select it all and get the thing to talk it to me. Right.
Right.
Well, something like this, I think I'd have to. Right. Okay. Next stop. Did I get? Yeah, nature.com was that one. Next stop is okay, a bit obvious, really. This is magic slash leap dot reality dot news. So that's MAGIC dash LEAP dot REALITY dot NEWS. And it's interesting. It sounds like a sort of editorial, really, even though it's coming from a Magic Leap sort of side. Magic Leap made me cry probably for the last time. That's why. Here's why. That's the good news. And they're basically catching up on the story of Magic Leap. Um, um, Whoever wrote this particularly likes this thing called The Last Night. Um, for those of you who don't know, Magic Leap is yet another headset on the market, and it has its own things to do and see. It tends to be rather expensive. It refocused not that long ago on the enterprise, where spending 3 or 4 thousand on a device like Magic Leap One was maybe more reasonable. But they quote that the F Core's Quest 2 is proving a success through telling stories in immersive platforms and the price thing. Um, Time and money caught up with the founders' aspirations, and the company was forced to pivot to enterprise business, something they frequently suggested, especially in the face of robust competition from Microsoft's HoloLens and companies like Vuvix. Um, they don't mention the F core in that bit. Right. Uh, the idea of laying out $600 for a headset even was, let's say, ambitious, although less so now. Um, Microsoft had a similar story with its HoloLens 2, um, but they realized its high-end, high price was aimed at the enterprise than consumers. Let's get where's the bit about okay, well, if you've been interested in the development of Magic Leap and where it's going now, there is a bit to read about here. I think I can't see the bit where it says it, but I think although they pivoted to the enterprise rather than consumer, I think they did. I think it is mentioned that they may have sort of slightly different plans to get back to the consumer market at a much more agreeable entry price, should we say. Anyway, you'll find out at magic-leap.reality.news. And talking of Vuvix, they were cited in that article there, weren't they? Um, Interview with Vuvix CEO Paul Travers talks about the future of AR glasses. Now, this site, right, requires an engine.
Hmm? Oh.
We're on. None of us are on the ball today, are we?
No. Well, I didn't even see it in the reader, so I couldn't tell it was Vroom.
Yes, yes, exactly. We need to be on the website to
Yep.
really see it. Yeah. Anyway, this is vroom.buzz, VRROOM.BUZZ. I think this is actually the first. This is actually the first post we've had from them this week.
This week, yeah.
The other reference was the production business
Yep.
for Michelle.
Yep.
Right. Talking about Vuvix Blade, the AR industry gradually spreads into the mainstream. Vuvix is subtly shifting its designs to meet a future where AR isn't an outlier tech, but a standard operating gear on the factory floor and in places like hospital operating rooms. So it's power stuff, so it ain't that cheap, obviously. But I'm looking forward to the day when you don't need an F Corporation headset and can do everything with something like that. The only thing missing really is an opaque, a slider that changes between opacity and transparency. But there you go. Um, Anyway, their CEO, Paul Travers, that be him, sporting a nice Avatar style nose job.
Mustachio. Yep.
So, pistachio, yes. Anyway, largely an interview with him about where it's all going. Um, and somebody wearing his glasses and operating them with their finger at the side there. And yeah, quite a long actual interview. I have no idea what that was. It seems to be a video that. Oh yeah, love it. Good old YouTube playing up again. It never occurred. Please try later.
Mm-hmm.
What they mean is I'm in the wrong country to watch it.
Ha.
That's I hate that stuff. I really
Yep.
do. Anyway, as I say, you'll find that at vroom.buzz, VRROOM.BUZZ. And moving on to a very familiar site indeed, although it doesn't publish that much regularly. It rather jams everything together. This is hypergridbusiness.com. So hypergridbusiness.com. And interesting, Alex Koroloff. I don't know how he's related to Maria. Um, yeah, I should ask her at some point. Um, Apple, of course, who they're always the stealth operator here. You know, they when they come into something, it will arrive. You know, so there's always plenty of rumors going around, but you don't find, Apple don't put their things on Kickstarter.
Mm.
They kickstart them behind the scenes. Um, but yeah, basically. Apple VR glove tracks movement of individual figures and fingers. Sorry, figures indeed. Um, and I think that's just a simulation picture. And as it says here, new VR glove could be coming. In other words, that sounds like they've got it already. This says it could be coming, and they're referring to the patent application and everything else like that. I think we mentioned the patent application when it came
Mm-hmm.
out.
Yep.
So really, all they've done is make an article out of the patent application, and the reality is. Oh, this was filed in 2018, but only just released by the US Patent Office. The reality is, and especially in the case of Apple, people file for patents they never have any intention of using. Um, Apple, um, I think it is fair to say, frequently file for patents which not only don't they intend to use, but they deliberately file them to actually mislead their competition. So if you see a schematic like that, and it's actually a piece of fiction, somebody else may think, God, I've just seen what Apple are doing. Let's get there
Right.
first.
Right.
And they go and spend loads of money developing prototypes based on that schematic. And in fact, Apple had absolutely no idea of
No.
doing
No
anything with
intentions of
that.
doing anything such.
No, exactly. In the world of, look at the revolution, the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, not to mention Apple's other products in the past, they they were almost derived in stealth, well, they did come in stealth. They were announced as their delay before they were shipped, but
Mm-hmm.
that was a shipping delay. That wasn't the delay wasn't long enough for the competitors to copy them. So whatever Apple do on this front, they know that we know they have divisions for AR and VR, and just the same as we now know they're making a car. So you're gonna have the iCar or whatever they choose to call it. It won't just be CarPlay on your dashboard anymore. It'll be a whole plastic car made by Apple.
Why not?
Um,
Yep.
why not? But who knows? May put the Teslas out of business. I don't know.
Right.
Everybody wants to do everything, but Apple, whatever Apple do, you can be pretty sure it will arrive with a splash, and however much however many rumors and predictions there are, it won't be quite what the rumors indicated. Anyway, moving on. So that is hypergridbusiness.com, all one word, hypergridbusiness.com for that little uh, article, I suppose. Right. And we're back on that damn motor car revving up again. Yes, it's VRROOM.BUZZ vroom.buzz. 5 ways VR is being used in modern healthcare. How revolution in the healthcare sector, and looking at all sorts of different things. Detecting vision problems, one use case. Mental injury recovery, next use case. Helping helping
Mm.
helping people through rehab. I think I need to be people through rehab.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting nuts here. Right, helping people. Oh, Google, go away. Helping people. Google, stop. Hey, Google, vanish.
I've not tried that word.
Oh, she doesn't understand it. Define repugnant. What are you talking about? Hey, Google, stop. She's shut up at least. She's still showing her results. Right. See, helping people through rehab. Sorry about that interruption. You know what Google are like. Barging in and interrupting
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Right, augmented medical records and prepping for surgery, etc. So it's just citing some uses, a sort of roundup of different healthcare applications. And you'll find, of course, that at vroom.buzz, VRROOM.buzz. Why are there shorter pieces, I must say. Right, and staying on the same site, but I definitely think we need to rev it up again. Right, they report also that virtual reality may cut domestic violence. Simulations put violent men in the position of women and children being abused. So it's a case of sort of, this is what it's like, mate. As the woman said to her husband, or the child said to her daddy, or whatever. Um, it's, well, it sounds obvious, doesn't it? Male offender is asked to put a virtual reality headset on that transforms him into a woman, and the abuse begins. Now, obviously, this is researchers. Um, they preliminary data shows the chance of reoffending can be cut in half, etc., etc. Um, I think this may be overplayed. Um, only because, from what I know of these, what you might call domestic violence perpetrators, mostly men, they're not always, by the way. Um, I don't think virtuality per se would really be enough to change their embedded habits, should we say. It would certainly be enough to experience what it's like to be on the other end, or the receiving side, so it would do some good there. But I don't know. I can just imagine in my head, especially males, that engage in domestic violence and things, who would, they'd have to be strapped down to put them in the helmet in the first
Mm-hmm.
place, I'm sure.
Well, I was
But
thinking of Malcolm McDowell in 1984. You know, they need to have
yes, of
their eyes
course.
held open inside the Oculus to force the
God,
experience.
I've got that movie. I should watch it again
Yeah,
sometime.
yeah.
I think I must have been about 17 years old when I first saw that. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
I
it
think so.
since.
Yeah, it's an
But
oldie.
it was a classic. It was a classic for sure.
Right.
As is the other one I want to watch again is Lindsay Anderson's If.
Mm-hmm.
That was released in a similar sort of period,
Yeah.
about boys boarding schools in the UK more than anything else.
Mm.
Anyway, moving on. Um, Anyway, they've got preliminary data that shows the chance of refunding can be cut in half, and this in turn has convinced the government of Catalonia in Spain to extend the program "Vi Respect Me" to 600 offenders. So, wow. Um, we'll see. Good to know that sort of stuff's happening anyway. And as I implied, the link you want for this is still the same site we were at a minute ago. VRROOM.BUZZ.
Vroom.
Oh, and my last thing. I told you it was
Of the day or
right.
of the Mal
Okay.
Burns channel?
No, no, we've started with Metaworld
Ah, okay,
News and with
okay,
this of the day, in fact,
okay.
um, which means I've got a link I thought I had that we haven't got up. Anyway, dream and plan about where you'll travel again with these new virtual reality services. This is in the LA Times, latimes.com. And it's basically talking about how in the future, virtual travel could become a big thing. And they, what I thought was interesting here is that it's often 360 videos and stuff like that, but it did give a little roundup here about Amazon Explore and a new Airbnb virtual reality service hitting the marketplace, and um, the differences between you can't swim with sea turtles in the South Pacific or laugh at spider monkeys cavorting in the Costa Rican jungle, um, uh, which is stuff people like doing, but they couldn't do it anymore when the pandemic stuck. So all these services are coming online to try and replace that being in another place thing, in the absence of being able to move or being restricted to Zoom. So yeah, it is 360 VR and other things, but they made the point that there are people that spend all their time traveling and they love it. That is their lifestyle, and if they can't do it, they must be almighty depressed. And even 360 video sort of type documentaries goes some way to putting them in the places they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So that is that. And
Oh
yes, it
my.
is most remarkable. It is most remarkable, but we don't often get to the end as quickly. Although actually, I've made a good go of it. It's what 90 minutes. Oh,
Back to Jar.
damnation!
All right.
Well, that serves me rather than hitting the back button. Was it went to my first
Mm-hmm.
post.
Mm-hmm.
um, well, at least it went to the first post and not the last post. No, didn't get it. Never mind. I don't know how to hum the last post anyway.
Right.
Right. That was what I was getting at. But it's too obscure. My humour is always too obscure. Right. Yes. Now I did. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do this live. So let's be all shoddy and stuff. I am actually not going to go to Vroom. I'm going to. Oh, God, is it where? Let me get back to scarredghost.com. Here we are. And I'll go to the web and we'll check out. Right, category. Oh, here we are. Right. Okay, they had a post on December 30th. This is scarredghost.com, and I guess the reason I didn't load it is it sounded like an advert for something we were covering anyway, and it's actually over. Um, what could be the best thing, blah blah, except to go to Jean Michel. Um, right, every year around mid-December, I hear people asking me, "What are you going to do for New Year's Eve?" And usually I have absolutely no clue about it at all. But this year it's different. I already know because I'm working with the usual Epic team headed by Vroom,
Hmm.
because we are organising a big concert for New Year's Eve inside VR Chat. And we learned a lot from the previous concert Alone Together, which again Scar Ghost did. Chris, I can never remember his second name. It is actually mentioned on one of the blogs this week. Um, I think it's on another blog that refers to Scar Ghost by name, if you see what I mean. And anyway, this was just an article um, telling you about what was coming up, but also because he was working on it, he worked for the show would be pretty unique. They're proud to say it being actually in virtual reality, not just a marketed term, not just CGI video, full experience, blah blah blah. And you can see it on the PC with or without VR. You can also watch the stream on YouTube, Facebook, and other social media. Starts at 11:25 CT, go on to midnight where everybody. Oh, maybe they saluted at the end. Oh well, and oh, that's true. Then there's another video which I didn't show you of the after party. And oh, by the way, in VR chat, both of the VR venues are still open, so you can still you can go to a continuing after party in VR chat, and you can still experience some of the live event in VR chat too. I think, though whether that means they're just playing the video, not sure. But especially the after party environment available for those still wanting to have some fun. Remember, all this was actually written before it went live, and yep, that that seems to be it for that. I'll just pop back there and I'm just scrolling the web page itself to see if no, that's the one we're on there. So yeah, that was it. Okay. Yeah, as I said, this was the thing, of the week, really, when it comes to anything significant in VR. Um, uh, be it the world environment, the technology, anything else. And but it brought the real world idea of New Year's Eve in there. It also meant that as well as Vroom and Scar Ghost, um, it has been covered, I can tell you, even though I haven't got the links to hand, by multiple other websites who've either reviewed the experience or advertised it coming up. If you go to RSS feeds and check out Jean-Michel Jarre, you will find there's a whole lot of stuff, about this up at the moment. And yeah, so it was Michel Jarre and Scar Ghost and Vroom Vroom, all working together for some considerable time, planning all that as well. Okay, so that's it. That's
Mm.
gosh golly, that's it. Welcome to the other side. Blah blah
Hmm.
blah. And I'll tell you what. There we are. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to mute it, not stop it. There we go. So I should leave that playing for a little bit whilst we talk ourselves out of the show.
All right.
James, any thoughts on all these things?
No, I
You've
just
got your comment.
I definitely sympathize with the theme of the Jar concert, "Welcome to the Other Side," because I am very happy to be on the other side of 2020. It's been a difficult year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has indeed. Although actually, personally, I'm looking forward to being on the other side of 2021 too, because
Well, yeah,
we
that's that.
really do. It's looking. There is hope for this year. Let's put it
Right.
that way.
Let's put
Whereas
it. Yep.
this time last year, we didn't even know what was going to happen. But yeah, it's sort of go back to March or April, and it's doom and gloom. There is
Hmm.
some hope now, so we can kind of think of things that way a bit.
Yep.
Um, but oh, doesn't want to do. Oh, it wouldn't, would it? Sorry, I'm clicking on something. Oh, there's it. Right. Okay, I need to be on the YouTube proper site for this, I think. Um, I've just seen something that I mentioned earlier.
Mm.
Oh, that's not. Oh, I know what's happened here. Right, it got to the end there. Okay. Actually, this seems small by comparison. 1993. Oh, that's quite a while ago, this one. Don't know whether this is one I've got anyway, but all this stuff I used to have on videotape. Here we are, right? It's not easy to see, but in real life, he used to have all these curved boards, and it wouldn't just be the one that's in front of him there. There'd be other ones at the side and everything. It's like he was enclosed in a whole circle of different keyboards and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And noticing what the shots from the new thing, well, the virtual thing for a start, shows he's obviously using iPad apps and various apps for the sound now, rather than relying totally on lots of different synthesizers. So he's obviously actually personally moved on, and I think it's quite funny seeing him playing virtually on a regular straight, rectangular keyboard. Because I'm so used to seeing him on film playing these curvy kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was just a bit of instant clicking for you there.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we can wrap the show. I guess we
Yeah.
can say we can say at least a firm goodbye to 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And
Here,
all my
here.
witticisms about 2020 vision are now history. Wish I hadn't turned them on anyway. Right, and yes, so we're in the new year, and hopefully it will be all good news in virtuality. I suspect it will. And it's a shame to say it in a way, but the longer the lockdowns go on, because even after we're inoculated, we still have to wear masks, and there'll still be a whole period of making sure it's all down to 0.5% or stuff.
Right, right.
Um, so I suspect the online world is going to still continue to boom, partly as a result of lockdowns. And when it comes to research and new products and manufacturing and stuff, which is often done by robots these days, I don't know that, you could say, oh, yeah, well, ideas will come, will boom, but nobody will be able to manufacture the hardware. But I think that might not be the case either, because so much of manufacturing now is done not virtually, well, maybe controlled virtually, but using robots. So, I mean, all these things are part of the future, and they wouldn't. To be honest, if COVID was never cured and we could never go out in fresh air again, at least in company, um, we'd probably still innovate and survive
Right,
as a
right.
society. It would just be certain aspects of that survival would be a long drawn out rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
But technology wise, I mean, in a way, technology has saved us. I was talking to an old friend of ours. Many listeners may know of him, Ham Rambler, John McMahon
Mm-hmm.
of Virtual Island in Second Life. And yeah, he used to be on our webcam show almost every week. Um, we exchanged New Year greetings the other night, and bit of sad news all around to share. But that aside, I just say, it's actually almost impossible to conceive how we would have survived this virus
Right.
in a pre-online age. Not virtual worlds, not even that. Think the Skypes, the emails, everything. Before we were actually had online communications
Mm-hmm.
per se. I'm not talking about early web with no hyperlinks and things. The early computers. The point at which we had online communication. Prior to that, how could we have got our notices,
Right,
warnings,
right.
we'd have just been sitting watching TV and thinking, help, help, help. What do, that we would have just, I imagine, I can't actually, I can imagine, but very scarily, just how nervous and frightening it would have been to have got that news when you couldn't have talked to somebody online or got
Right,
information and
right.
stuff. So I think technology has saved us from what would have otherwise been, you know, a nice Spanish flu or something.
It's certainly
Anyway,
helped.
anyway,
Yeah,
th-
it certainly helped. I think
yeah,
there've always been technologies. There's been radio and there's been television and telegram, and
yeah,
I know I've seen videos of. I just watched, what was the movie? Very old movie, Things to Come, and
oh
it
yeah,
sticks out in my mind. That announcements of the war as it was coming over the hill was an old car with big speakers on the top, rolling through the
yeah.
neighborhood saying, there's, leave, get into your homes, hide because the attack is coming. And, you
That
know,
was pretty much the same at the when the
yeah,
Second World War broke out in
right,
England.
Right.
It had the home guards, civil defences they were then, but it was all people in beaten up old cars, or
Right.
what we think of them like that now.
Hmm.
Loud hailers, not amplified, just the tinny old, loud hailers. The only other time they came out was election time when they were, before
Right.
TV, they
Yep.
would
Yep.
be wandering around telling people who the local MP that they should be voting for was and what party he represented. But it was that local communications sort of thing.
True. Yeah. Truly.
You know, um, no telephones, or if there were, they weren't used for anything like, cold calling. They're too expensive. People, back in the day, people only a few people had phones. It was like, for a while, only a few people had the internet. It's yeah. I mean, and I've often wondered. I'm a big fan of science fiction, and although I prefer optimism to reading about dystopias, sometimes the hope message and things is actually written into dystopian scenarios, and I'm always quite fascinated about this post some kind of disaster movie scenario, or book for that matter, probably more a book in many ways, where the task is to rediscover forgotten skills, you know.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I get an example I have with kids today, right? Um, when I was in school, I had to learn mathematics. It was that simple, right? By the time I was in my 40s, I suppose, 20, 30 years after school days, kids of the new generation were actually allowed to take pocket calculators into the exams with
Hmm.
them. And that is par for the course now. In fact, I don't know whether they're allowed to actually take, you know, um, iPhones or apps into, maybe some yes, some no. But when the moment I saw that, or sort of, this isn't really the same test anymore. And actually, nowadays, another 30 years later, or whatever it is, it's proved. I can't find a kid today, even who's like in their 20s or 30s, who can really do any sums in their head anymore.
Hmm.
They can do them quick enough with the calculator, or even better with putting out their phone. But what if that technology ceased to exist? Who will we go to do the maths? If the phone doesn't work, the pocket calculator doesn't work. The sun is hidden by dark clouds, so we can't even use solar power calculators. I mean, what
Hmm.
do we do?
No, that's a common science fiction meme. I've seen it
It
myself many
is, yeah.
times. But the reality of society is we do move on. I don't know many people who, if our cars disappeared, could ride a horse. It would take some training to figure out how to ride a horse again.
Sure. I think the issue is whether we would need to discover all skills, or
Right.
will we somehow be able to magic up some kind of replacement for the car that didn't require manufacturing, which might also be out of the
Right.
picture.
It's kind of like finding a
It,
vaccine.
yeah, it is exactly. And actually, the worst thing about this, apart from the indecision by government at the moment, in the last week, we've gone from having the one vaccine and targeting it on the older age groups and the vulnerable, moving downwards, and then calling them back 3 weeks later for their second shot. Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
This was the is it AstraZeneca vaccine, not the Oxford one, the other one. Right?
Hmm.
We've now got the long-awaited Oxford one online, which is different, and it's a different formula. It also it doesn't require such lower temperatures, and it's that it won't require those special deep freezers that it can now be shipped in a normal fridge van to say care homes and stuff like that. So it's a good one. And you won't need the second dose of this one, for maybe 3 months, not 3 weeks. So they're saying, oh, this is great too, because we'll only give people the first shot, and we'll get as many first shots done as possible. And we can wait for 3 months before we start calling back the first lot, if you see what I mean, for their second shot. But now, in the case of a few days, we've got health experts, so-called experts, and ministers coming up and saying, um, Well, it doesn't matter which shot you get, and then there's some health service says it doesn't matter. You can mix and match. Well, that is complete bullshit because they're different formulas. You might be able to have both, but you definitely need the first one. You need to have the second dose in 3 weeks. The new one, you can wait 3 months. But what the government, good old Boris's government, has said is, well, um, we'll now book people for their second jab in 3 months instead of 3 weeks, and he's doing it universally for both formulas. So they're just basically keeping their fingers crossed that one jab of the first vaccine will actually last for 3 months, although the efficacy says only 3 weeks before you need the second shot. But they're changing the whole policy. In what, and of course, go to the actual medical people, the actual scientists. They're saying this is the most daft. Mixing and matching and changing those times to accommodate both at the same time. It's as daft as it comes.
It
They're asking
is.
for trouble.
It is. Yep.
But no, they're doing it anyway. You know. And Boris has been told by everybody that he has to get rid of the tier system and go into full lockdown immediately for as long as it takes. Could be several months till winter is over. And he's humming and hawing, but I reckon within a week he'll probably come on saying, "With regret, I have to do this. I really don't want to."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then everybody will rightfully turn around and say, "Yeah, well, why did you waste 2 weeks? You know, letting it get worse in the meantime." So the government has lost the plot, and Elvis has left the building
Yeah. Right.
or something. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, hang on, we're still on air, aren't we?
We sure are.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting to the point where I'm doing too much talking and forgetting that it's all going out live. I hope I haven't goofed. I haven't said anything I
I
should.
don't think so. It's all in the realm of opinion.
It is.
Do
This
you
is
do
the
do you
rabbit
trust
hole.
right? Do you trust the science or do you not trust the science? If you're
I
delivered a
trust the science.
vaccine, do you trust their recommendation or do you say I'm going to use my own recommendation?
Well, I trust the science
I
to
do
make
too.
my own
But
recommendation. What I don't trust are the
my
politicians.
right. Right.
Don't politicians, trust the scientists. Yeah, indeed. Well, that's another little rabbit hole. Very UK specific there, but I suspect James will
It's
probably
so
think
similar across the world.
pretty
Yep.
much the same.
Yep.
Pretty much the same way he is, and yeah, maybe even all across the whole world. So we'll see. But anyway, I started the show by trying to wish you all a happy new year, or at least the happiest new
Right.
years possible. And I'm going to close the show by saying again, I'm wishing you the happiest of years possible. Um, and good luck with all that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Here.
and in the case of the virus, goodbye to all that too. Of course, who's that? Robert Graves, isn't it? Goodbye to all that. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. So, um, let's start with James. It's goodbye from him too, I think.
And I would say it's goodbye from Mel, him over there.
Yeah, goodbye from the two of us. Because when it comes to VR or MR or XR or MXSR or USSR, that was not right,
I
is
like
it?
that one. I like it.
Whatever it is, you know that we
are.
Yeah, we are the Metaverse News. We are Metaworld News. And we will see you again later this year. In fact, a week away. That's what I should have said last week. See you next year.
Right.
Never mind.
Yep.
Next year is here. And we're stuck with it for 12 months or 13. Never mind. 365 days, I believe. Right. Okay. Stay safe, everybody. Have a good week. No doubt when you see us again this time next week, things will be a bit more back to normal. In other words, you will have a 3-hour marathon where I struggle to get through every link I've found during the week. And yeah, maybe things, the reality is that tomorrow, Monday, The 4th of January is sort of the day when all the work places and things open up again, insofar as they're able to.
Yep.
But from our point of view, it's all pretty much online. So I expect we'll have quite a big catch-up program installed by next week. So for now, we will say toodaloo and stay safe and see you then.